ever experienced this where you walk into a room, right? There are other people talking. You walk into a room and you just somehow believe that people are talking about you. Do you know that half the time it's not correct? People are not actually talking about you. You just think that you are so important that people will be talking about you. Hello all, welcome to another episode of Not Random Remote Pod. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing fantastic. So today, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that, I even brought my book because I think it's a very, very serious topic, right? And this was inspired by King Saul in the Bible. And we're going to be talking about self-centeredness, pride, and false humility. This episode, may the good Lord help us. But yeah, so we're going to be talking. It's really, I was studying the book of Samuel, Kings, and everything, and I was just like thinking about the whole concept of self-centeredness and pride and what people believe to be humility, because genuinely I think that our idea of what humility is and what pride is might not be entirely true. Not like it's not true, but I feel like there are deeper, or there are different ways that pride rears itself up in our lives, and we don't actually know it's pride, right? So that was what inspired this episode. And so we know about King Saul, how God chose him to be the first king of Israel, and he had a very the way he saw himself. He saw himself as the least of his father's house, and his father's house was the least in the tribe of Benjamin, and all of that, right? And we get to a point in his story where he got to a junction where the Lord God told him through Prophet Samuel, oh, this is what you should do. But Saul was now like, the people are saying this is what I should do, this is what I should do, right? And he ended up disobeying God. And so when we know the story, but like I just want to recap so that we understand, we get where I'm going. So Samuel comes to meet Saul and he's like, but this is what God said, this was the instruction. Saul's response is what caught my attention. He said that the people were telling him this is what he should do, and like he wanted to please the people. So Saul was a people pleaser, and he was really a people pleaser because of how he saw himself, right? God already chose him as king. He was already king of Israel. He was all of these things, and yes, he still had difficulty in seeing the person that God said he was, right? And because of how he saw himself, he feared that people would perceive him as that way, and he ended up disobeying God at the expense of pleasing people, right? So self-centeredness, pride, false humility. What's self-centeredness? This is a very serious issue, and so I have to jot things down. Self-centeredness is when we believe or we think everything revolves around us. So it's all about the way we say it's me, myself, and I, right? We're only concerned about how we feel, what we think, how we are perceived, right? And it's just about me, I, myself, nothing else about any other person. It's just about ourselves, right? And self-centeredness, as we know, is actually rooted in pride, because you cannot see any other person other than yourself. You believe that you're the most important person in the room. And this is very, very interesting for me to say, but I'm going to say it either ways. But while we are important people, like we are unique, we are special to God and everything, we need to get to a point where we understand that we are not that important. I don't know how to explain it, that it's not going to sound somehow, but we are actually not that important as individuals. You are not that special. When I mean you're not that special, your being special is not at the expense of another person being special, right? Your being important is not at the expense of another person being important. We are all uniquely different. We are all uniquely and equally special to God. and in the eyes of God, right? However, a lot of times, if you really deep it, because we are trying to, um, we yes, we see ourselves that, oh, this is what God has said about me, this is who I am, this and that, I'm unique. Sometimes we elevate our importance, we elevate it so highly, and that's pride. Pride is when you have inflated your importance. It's you believe that you are self-reliant, you are self-sufficient. It's all about self. Pride is rooted in self, right? And we know that that's entirely against what is supposed to be, because the proper way of things, right, is not just about you. It's this way, right? So it's about God, it's about you, and it's about other people. And that's why the greatest command is love the Lord your God, and then the second is love your neighbor as yourself, right? So self-centeredness, one of the ways I believe that self-centeredness rears its head up, right, is when, have you ever experienced this, where you walk into a room, right? There are other people talking. You walk into a room and you just somehow believe that people are talking about you. Do you know that half the time it's not correct? People are not actually talking about you. You just think that you are so important that people will be talking about you, but they're not, right? So you see people believing that, oh, the reason why people are laughing in a room is because they are talking about them and they're laughing at them, or this person is angry because of what I did or because of what I said. Is everything just revolves around you, and it's not always the case. Again, we are not that important, right? So yeah, sometimes we are so engrossed in ourselves, engrossed in our strengths and also our weaknesses, because we believe that self-centeredness and pride is only about you being a good person, or like your strengths. Oh, I'm able to do this, I can do this, I'm strong, I am capable, I am all of these things, good things. However, even when you focus so much on your weaknesses, it's also rooted in pride. It's self-centeredness, because again, you are only focused on yourself. You are focused on your weakness to the point where you don't want to do anything that would inconvenience yourself or put you out there, because you are again so focused on self-centeredness rooted in pride, right? It's all about you, all about me, right? Sometimes another way that I have seen, and I God help me, God help all of us, one other way that I have seen this pride and self-centeredness rear its head up in our lives is when, because we are so concerned about how people perceive us, sometimes it even doesn't allow us to say the truth in certain situations. For example, you have a friend, right, who is obviously doing something that is going to destroy them, or who is obviously walking in a path that is going to end up pretty badly, but your desire to preserve yourself and to preserve a an idea or an image that people already have of you, because they're trying to preserve that image, you're trying to preserve that perception of you that people have, you will not tell your friend the truth, or you will not say what is true in a particular given situation, because you want people to think of you a certain way. You don't want people to think of you as the person who, oh, is Moya that pointed out this bad thing in me, oh, is this person that said this thing is not correct, so I don't want to talk to her anymore, something like that. She's a bad person for pointing out the bad thing in me. You get the gist, right? Sometimes we are so focused on preserving ourselves at the expense of the betterment of others. And this is what Saul did. He was so focused on people. He was so focused on what people were saying, how people would think about him, what they would think about him, this and that, people pleasing. He was so focused on that he did not even think about, okay, what is the right thing to do? What was I told to do? I am the king. At the end of the day, is what I say is going to we are going to do, is what we are going to do, right? But he was so focused on myself. I don't want to be seen as a bad king. I don't want to be seen as an unfair king. I don't want to be seen as a king who does not want the people to enjoy after they have gone to fight and they have succeeded. Now they want to take the spoil, like all the things of the other place that they went to go and fight. He didn't want to be seen as that, and so he disobeyed God, and we know what happened to him, right? Now, that's self-centeredness, that's pride, false humility. Okay, something pride also erects itself up, and this one is a hard pill for me to swallow, in being controlling, always wanting to control your environment, your space, people, situations. And you know that this thing, it's, you can see it in even how we set boundaries. I know that I am very, very big on boundaries because boundaries protect us. But sometimes our boundaries are a way for us to control people, and are a way for us to control situations in a way that it is working, it is only for our own good, it's only because of ourselves. We don't want to convenience ourselves. We don't want to do anything that would, even if it's just by a little, push us beyond our convenience, or where we are used to, what we are used to, right? So pride, when you believe so much in yourself, you believe you are so important, you are self-reliant, you are self-sufficient, you are never wrong, you are always right, and you just want to always be in control, right? And then false humility, this is one that I am very, very particular about because we really, really do think we are humble people, right? But a lot of times this our humility is actually pride. So many people think that humility is not talking well about yourself, or not blowing your trumpet, right? Not saying good things about yourself. A lot of us think humility is putting ourselves down, right? um Underestimating our gifts. You talk down about your gifts, about your abilities, about your looks, about yourself generally, right? And I don't think that's humility, because at the end of the day, okay, let me give a classic example, right? Do you know that, let's even be very honest, do you know that if Jesus lived in our time, if Jesus was alive in the, okay, still alive, but like, if he lived in this time, present day, walking on the earth in this 21st century, 2025, do you know that many of us will summarize him as a prideful person? Many of us will summarize him as somebody who is proud. Why? Do you remember a lot of the things that Jesus said about himself? All his identity statements. Somebody should walk up to you now and tell you, oh, I'm the bread of life. Without me, you're going to die. I'm the living water. If you don't drink me, you're going to be thirsty again. Like, do you understand? Would you say that he was being proud? No. What was he doing? He was just stating the truth about himself, right? So I think humility is always going to be rooted in truth. So if God has said, oh, you are strong, you are capable of doing this, but then you go around telling yourself and telling other people that, oh, I'm not able to do this, I can't do it, I can't do it, it is not humility. It is low self-esteem that is low-key rooted in pride. Why? Because you cannot bring yourself to put down your own opinion of yourself. We cannot bring ourselves to put down our own opinion of ourselves and take what God has said to be the truth. This is very, very hard, but it's very, very important. Why? Because again, there are many examples like that in the Bible. Gideon, Saul. I think Saul is my major focus, to be honest. God has said, this is who you are, this is what you are, right? But because again, we think what we think and what we know is supreme. We don't believe what God has said, and we don't take it as the truth, right? So false humility is not, humility is not putting yourself down. Humility is not speaking, is not speaking good about yourself, right? Humility is not downplaying your gifts and importance. Humility is not avoiding the spotlights. Let me pause. So, especially in the Christian space, right? Church or whatever, a lot of us think that avoiding the spotlights is humility. But is it really humility? If God has already said, let your light so shine before men, that what they will see your good works, so that they can now glorify me, God. But a lot of us, we avoid standing on the hill and like being the center of attention. Yeah, a city sets on a hill, obviously people are going to see you, people are going to notice you, you're going to get the attention of men. Humility is not deliberately hiding because, oh, I don't want to be seen as somebody who is doing too much, oh, I don't want to be seen as somebody who is everywhere, all of that. What if God wants you to do all of those things and he wants you to be there, he wants you to be at the center of attention, right beneath the spotlight, right? So just really understanding what true humility is very important, right? Jesus Christ was very, very loud about his identity. He was very, very confident about what he knew he was and who he knew he was. And though he was very, very firm on that, he was still totally surrendered to God's will. And I think that is the main thing about humility. Humility is 100% submission to God, submission to the truth that God has revealed to you, submission to his will and what he says. So when Jesus Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane and then he was praying and he said, oh, if it be your will, let this cup pass over me. But not my will, your will. At the end of the day, he was subject to God's authority and God's will. Even though he knew that this is who I am still 100% God. And I can decide if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it, and nobody's going to flog me. Do you understand? So humility would always be rooted in truth. If what you are saying about yourself is a lie in terms of this is not what God has said about you, but because you feel like, if I say this is who I am and everything, this is what I do, this is what I can do and everything, people will think I'm this. At the end of the day, is to God, not to men. We are pleasing God, not pleasing men. I remember when I was writing my book, right? And even a lot of other times, to be honest, where I would tell myself, I'll be saying that I'm not able to do this, I can't do it, I'm not supposed to do it, this and that. I mean, there were quite a number of times when I was like, I'm not the one that's supposed to write this book. Why would I be writing a book about identity for children? Why would I be doing this? What, I mean, why? All these things. I'm not the one that's supposed to do this. No, they'll say it's me again. Oh, I'm doing too much. I'm the one doing this. I'm the one doing that. People will say, she's so humble. She's so humble. Until, thank God for support systems and people that used to hear God, and they will come and make sure that you are also hearing what God is saying. My cousin said, I don't understand. What are you saying? What are you actually saying? That you are not the one that is supposed to do it. So who will not do it? If God has said you should do it, and this is what he has said you should do, this is who he has said you are, right? Why are you going back and forth? Why are you so bent on holding the lie that the enemy has told you? Why are you holding that as your truth when this is what God has said, right? So true humility is staying within the truth about who God has said you and what God has said you should do. Right? Again, perfect example is Jesus. Jesus, he knew who he was, but he was 100% surrender to God. And I think that's when we really, really understand the greatest commandments, right? Love God with all your heart, all your soul, everything, and then love your neighbor as yourself. I think it will help with defeating the self-centeredness and pride that always wants to rear its head up in our lives. Because the truth about pride is that nobody would agree that they are battling with the spirit of pride. Nobody would agree that, oh, they're actually prideful, because that's how pride is. The person that has it will not see it. It's other people that are going to see it. But I think when we come to the conclusion and live just as God said, your neighbor as yourself, right? I mean, as I'm speaking, I'm even remembering even Jesus. You know, the first miracle that Jesus did at the wedding at Cana, when Mary went to meet him and he was like, woman, it's not yet my time. But so let's unpack it. Mary goes to meet Jesus and says, oh, they're out of wine, right? I know what it is for. Imagine you go for a wedding now and people have not, half of the people that come for the wedding have not even had food to eat. They've not gotten minerals, and you're already saying it has finished. That's a disgrace. And Jesus was like, it's not my time to show myself, to start performing miracles and all of that. That was him preserving himself. But we now see the same Jesus. He now goes and Mary tells the disciples, just do what he says. And then he tells them, oh, bring the jars, put water and everything. So he goes ahead to do the thing that he said he didn't want to do, that it was not yet time for. Why do we think he did it? It's so that shame will not come to the couple. He in that position, in that state, he was not thinking just about himself. He was thinking about these people. What would it mean for them if he did not do this? Right? And I think that is the posture, and that is what we are all supposed to imbibe. The Bible says in Philippians that we should take up the same nature that Jesus Christ had. He was humble. Though he was God, he did not lord it over himself. That is humility. The Bible also says, submit to God. That is humility. Right? If you don't submit to God, he will humble you. And the person that God humbles is problem. Oh. It's better to humble yourself than for God to humble you. Take the lesson from King Nebuchadnezzar and a host of others, right? So, self-centeredness is rooted in pride. It's when we cannot see past ourselves. I want to say something, but I have a feeling that people are going to come for me, but I will say it anyway. Do you know that shyness, shyness is also rooted in pride in a way? Because you are trying to hide from people. You don't want people to see you. You don't want people to, oh, like if I get on stage now and I say something that is not correct, people are going to laugh at me. You're trying to preserve yourself. Self is still about self. Let me leave that one like that before they go for me. But I think that it's just a thing of understanding that we are not that special. Why is it that you always think that people are always thinking about you? They don't have our economy to think about. You enter a room and people are laughing and you just believe that you are the joke of the moment. You are not that special. You are not that important. You are not the news on everybody's lips. You are not the subject on everybody's mind. You are not that special, right? And it's just a thing where we have to remove our eyes from looking at ourselves too much. God is not saying don't think about yourself. He's saying think less about yourself, more about him, and then about ourselves and others. So God should be the most elevated. How do I put this? We should think more about God than we think about ourselves. And we should think about others the same way we think about ourselves. Right? I think just having this would help curb pride. and help us to truly walk in humility. I'm going to say it again. Humility is standing and walking and staying within the truth that God has already said to you and that you know. That is humility. If God has said this, humility is staying within that truth. No matter what you feel, we must get to a point where we are subjecting our feelings to the truth, subjecting our preconceived notion about ourselves based on what people have said to us or based on what we think because of what we have seen, subjecting it again to the truth, right? So that's it. Don't be too self-obsessed. Don't be not even too self. Don't be self-obsessed. Don't be self-centered. May God help us, because do you know that it's actually very difficult to swallow the fact that you might actually be prideful, because that's one thing that people don't want to ever be characterized as. But again, is it not pride if we do not admit that we have pride in us? Can you see that this thing is very, very, very funny? But the Lord will help us. So I mean, that's really all I came to say today. That we should think more about God than we think about ourselves, and we should think about others the same way we think about ourselves. Don't have an elevated view about yourself that is far above what God has said, or you elevate yourself to a point where you now start demeaning others and reducing their own importance. They are all equal in importance. Let's not lie, let's not steal. We're all equal in importance. Yes, so somebody's title or position may give them may give them an honor that might be more than yours, but I think in the eyes of God, everybody is equally important. Because why? Jesus Christ died for everybody. He did not choose the people he was going to die for. That I'm supposed to die for only these people. These ones, they are not worth my death. They are not worth my sacrifice. No, everybody. And so far Jesus Christ died for everybody, it means that we are all equally important to God. Why? For God so loved the world, the whole world, that he gave his only begotten son. This is not Easter, but it's now giving Easter message. So I leave you with this. Think about it. Are there areas of your life where you are so bent on preserving yourself at the expense of others, at the expense of the truth? Are there areas where you are putting yourself down? And just think about the motive. Why do I put myself down? Why do I talk about myself like this? Why do I avoid the spotlights? Why exactly do I avoid the spotlight? Why do I just why? Question yourself, question your actions, question your motive, and you see that a lot of light comes when we analyze ourselves. A lot of light comes when we ask ourselves the hard questions. All right, guys, that's it on Not Surrender Remote podcast for this week. I hope you learned something. Please share your thoughts in the comments, share this episode, share this podcast, like, share, subscribe, and rate. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate the podcast. And yeah, till next time, bye.